episode 3 of the Minnesota Lefties podcast. In this episode, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes reminding lefty golfers in the state of Minnesota that there is a tournament coming up next summer just for you. It's the Minnesota State Lefty Open, and in 2022, it'll take place at Riverwood National Golf Course in Otsego, Minnesota on July 16th and 17th. This tournament has been an annual event for many years, but I'd like to see it grow. It's always been viewed as a chance to get away for a weekend, play golf, and hang out with old friends. This year will be no different. It's a 2-day tournament, but if you can't commit to 2 days, there will be Saturday evening skins at the executive course across the street, Vintage Golf Club. This is owned by the same people who own Riverwood, and it's in really good shape. It's perfect for this sort of event. They do a great job with their juniors. I bring my 3-year-old there a lot, and hits a couple shots here and there, and then runs around. They got the big cups in the greens, along with the regulation size, to make the game a little more accessible for the juniors. But for our purposes, that Saturday evening 9, I'd like to give the big cups a shot. I'm thinking about a $5 skins game. Playing with the big cups. I think the big cups provide an extra opportunity for long putts to drop and chip-ins to abound. As I said earlier, this is a tournament that I'd like to see grow a little more. It's got a wonderful group of guys who accepted me when I was just like a 16-year-old punk who, at the time the tournament was at a course near my house growing up, and so I signed up and sort of took a chance, and they welcomed me, and I guess I've been going ever since. I've been playing for a lot of years now. I've traveled, quite a long distance to the tournament as it's moved around the state, and it's an event that I've come to really enjoy. But a common lament that I hear from many guys who have played in this tournament for a lot of years is that people just don't know what this tournament is, and they often think that they're not quote unquote good enough to play in it. Well, I'd like to take a few minutes here to iron out some of those misconceptions about what this tournament is and what this tournament is not. One of the main misconceptions that I hear from, longtime players when they bring it up to fellow lefty golfers who they come across is that they feel like you have to be good enough to play in this tournament, when the reality is we're not like some MGA, Minnesota Golf Association sanctioned tournament. Like, it's not part of a circuit. We're not part of that ongoing point system that exists all summer through the Minnesota Golf Association. That's not us. The closest we've come is that we've been on the tournament calendar, which is printed in the Minnesota Golfer magazine. We've been on that calendar in the past. That other circuit, that's full of MGA events with, high school golfers with D1 aspirations, D1 golfers, and then, older golfers who qualify for the USAM and play in US Open qualifyings. While we would happily accept them, to come play in this tournament with us, that's not necessarily who we are. We're not a bunch of single-digit handicaps there taking our golf as seriously as those guys often do. Don't get me wrong, we have some good players, but our crop to pick from is small. It's only lefties. The champion of this event often does shoot about 75 or better, kind of for both days. To try to present that otherwise would be an affront to those good players, because I don't want to sell this as just some, beer league event that, guys just come out and hack it around. There are some really, really good players. And it's not that everyone doesn't take it seriously, but to say that, you got to be shooting right around par to compete in this event, that is not the case. One, it's flighted, and so we can accompany golfers of all skill levels. But two, I would say the majority of the players are shooting between 85 and 100, which places them, right in the middle of the pack with every weekend golfer out there. If you're thinking that you'd be embarrassed or something because it's called the State Lefty, put those concerns aside, and I'd say just sign up and give it a try. Another misconception is that you need a gin handicap, and many people don't carry handicaps. You don't. we have not played with handicaps in many years. In the recent past, we've just flighted the day two of the event based on the day one scores with payouts in each flight. It's This isn't to say that like not having a handicap or having a handicap is better or worse. In fact, I think as I organize this event later in I guess more toward the beginning of the 2022 year, I'll want to know who does and who doesn't, because that'll help me kind of organize the groupings and how I put that together. You know, who does and who doesn't have a handicap, but it's not something that you need to have. Like I said, for many years we've done it without handicaps. It's just something that we would flight day two based on day one scores. And there's a couple protections in there to kind of, I don't even want to say sandbagging, but like, you know, things can happen. I once went 91.76 in this tournament, which averages right out to about where I normally am, right about an 83. It's just how it came out those 2 days. So that can happen, but there's protections built in to kind of protect against, you know, someone who might be sandbagging. I don't know why anyone would want to sandbag in an event like this. It's not one of those things, but we have protections in place against that. So at this point, I've talked about two common misconceptions. One is that you have to be good to play in this event, and two, you have to have a JIT handicap, where neither are necessarily true. Um, Now I'm going to talk about a little bit about what this tournament actually is. Um, as I understand it, and I could be not totally correct here, but like I said, as I understand it, this tournament began many years ago as a group of guys who actually were from the Rochester area who um, just wanted an event for a bunch of lefties. It's kind of a unique thing. They must have, you know, known a couple people who were lefties and decided to start something. And then actually, it sort of grew into uh, there was a groundswell of people, of guys in the West Metro who found out about it, been playing in it, and you know, kind of got started. And the tournament has sort of gone back and forth between sort of the Rochester area and up 94, halfway between Minneapolis, St. Cloud, kind of in that West Metro area. We've played a lot of tournaments between there and then, like I said, back down in Rochester. Um, so the reality is, it's really just a bunch of guys who got a tournament together, and it gave them a reason to get away for the weekend and play some golf and hang out with some friends who maybe they, you know, see only a couple of times a year or something. So, um, you know, it's just kind of more an event like that. And like I said, they welcomed me as just a punk kid. So it's really a good group, and I'm hoping to grow it and continue this thing, continue moving this thing in the right direction and expanding it every year. And I really hope that an event like the one I want to put together on Saturday night, that Saturday night skins at an executive course where, you know, I think there's maybe 4 par 4s and the rest are par 3s. We can play a quick nine with a little bit of excitement built in, and maybe even loop in a couple guys who can't commit to the 2 day tournament, and you know, give them an opportunity to kind of meet some people, just kind of get a taste of what that is. I should also mention that there is a national tournament that I am currently in the process of finding more about. As we speak, as I record this particular podcast, I've been in contact with the guy who kind of runs that tournament, and we're gonna chat, and I'm gonna figure out exactly, you know, what it looks like to move from the state tournament here to the national tournament. But it sounds like the one in 2022 is in Alabama, I believe. It's something that I will talk about on a future episode. So just as a last little recap here, please keep in mind that this is not a tournament that you have to be, you know, like a good golfer for. If you like golf and you're left-handed, you know, we'll welcome you. We're happy to have you. You don't need a gin handicap. It's something that we can definitely work around. And what it is we'd like to bring you in as part of the group, and you know, make this something that you look forward to every July, just like I started to about 15 years ago. Um, if you'd like to continue, you know, with updates and receiving these updates, and you know, or maybe be reminded of this event later in the year. It's October now as I record this, and you know, we kind of have put away our golf clubs. But if you want to be reminded of this in, you know, come the springtime, throw a follow my way on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube at MN Left-Handers. That's at MN Left-Handers on most of your social channels. I'll try to keep these podcasts going a little bit through the winter. Maybe talk about things going on in golf too, but just kind of a way to keep this event sort of top of mind and remind you that it's going to happen here in a few months once we get through winter and the weather warms back up. Again, if you're looking to kind of stay in touch, throw a follow in those social channels that I just mentioned. Thanks again, and tune in again soon for another episode of the Minnesota Left-Handers podcast.